And as you can see here, this is the beginning of that step here today. So I'm real excited to be doing this relative to electrostatic discharge. So here's what we're building today. We're building a Geiger counter, and we're going to have 33 steps to do that, and it's going to take some time, but be patient. You'll get through that, and you're going to have a wonderful, cool little instrument to work with. We're not doing the conformal coding because we're just not. Typically we do that when we're in person, but I don't want to be sending out some nasty chemicals to all of you, so we're going to skip those steps. Now the cool thing about this Geiger counter is it measures radiation, and it measures radiation in the alpha, beta, and gamma radiation, but because our tube is going to be protected for the violence of our rocket flight, it's only going to be able to measure beta and gamma radiation because alpha radiation is pretty much blocked by anything. Now there's some YouTube links there that you can type in or perhaps click depending on how this program works to see how a Geiger counter actually works. And ours is no different in terms of how the tube is set up. Now here is a physical representation of what you're actually going to build with me over the next, 6 to 12 hours. Now I'm joking, hopefully it's a lot less than that. Now, if you look at this picture, you can see that there are several areas of the Geiger counter that we're going to be building that are sort of like different systems. You can see the 555 timer, which we used in this person or this thing not too long ago. We have some voltage regulation. We have a way to step up our 9-volt battery to 500 volts, and there's a whole system for that. So we're going to go through all that. So that is how the board looks physically. And then this right here is an electrical schematic. And right here I have a paper version of it. You should have one in your kit as well. And I encourage you as you go through the lesson here that you highlight the different things that you're building so that you understand what electrical schematic is. Now, if I was in person, I'd be saying to you, how many of you know how to read electrical schematic? Many of you would say, that's not me, I'm not an electrical person. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. If you know how to use Google Maps, the Earth happier than it could be with all these in the ocean. You also have access to a bill of materials, which tells you where we got all these parts. So if you wanted to build your own, you could order them. Now, I will tell you some of those parts are no longer available, and we may have to do some updates as we go forward. You also have your Geiger tube, and I want to just go ahead and say that right now, that's the most expensive item in your kit, not just the Geiger kit, but the entire kit we sent you. If you break it, there's no extras. You're not going to fly a Geiger tube if you do. So please be really careful. I always like to say, treat it like it's made with fairy wings or fairy dust. Not that fairies are real, but they seem to be pretty delicate things. So we'll talk more about that header, and I'm going to go ahead and install that header right here, the only place that it can go. Perfect. It should look just like that. All right. Now I'm going to use my third hand just so I can get a little better focus for you all to see my soldering skills that my grandma taught me long ago. Now, this is going to fall out, likely. So I'm going to do something like this. No, I'm going to do it on the board. So bear with me. I'm going to invent as I go here, just like you're all having to do. It's really important, though, to make sure you get it like this, okay? The longer leads are sticking on the top of the board. That's really important because that's how we're going to connect to it. Now I'm just going to lay it on its back here. Oops, I totally messed it up again. There we go. I'm going to hold it, set it down, and I'm just going to tack one of those real quick. So again, I got my soldering iron here. I grabbed the right end, which is good, the orange end, not the metal end. And I always like to put a little bit of solder on my tip just to make sure it's working all right, and then clean it. Hopefully let it go. And now I want to get those flat, so I'm only going to do one. I'm just going to, again, show it who's boss, heat that pad up, put some solder there, and there we go. Now I could go ahead and just finish them on the deck, but I want to make sure I got it. Hallelujah. All right, next, how are we doing? Everybody need a break? No? Okay, let's keep going. D9. Step 2 is D9, and that's a diode. So I'm going to go into my diode bag, and I'm going to look for a little package called D9. I'm going to go ahead and take these out, no matter what I said earlier. And I'm flipping through these kind of like a deck of cards. And there we go. I see D2, D9, and D3. That tells me all three of these diodes are likely the same value. They should be. Now you'll notice on the picture, and I'm going to go ahead and just take one of these off, and sometimes just get them out of the paper. Oh, there we go. Now you can see I have a band on here. That band indicates a polarity. The side of the diode that will need to go in and match the polarity, or the board here. So if you look, D9, look at that opportune little bit of glare there. That wasn't very friendly. Okay, D9 is right here, D9, and you can see I have a little stripe there, just like on the board or on the diode. So perfect. Now I'm going to use my bending tool or my probing stick, and again I just take my one end here and I'm just going to bend it just a little bit, and I'll approximate the other side too. I don't want to use needle nose pliers to do that. So most important thing is installing this with the band, that silver band, going to the same side of the band of the board. And if you look at that, a little hard to see, but I see that band and I see that band on the same side in D9. All right, push it down flush with the board, just like you see here in the picture. And you know what? Yeah, we're going to solder it, but it doesn't show you where to solder. And we're going to flip it over now, and I'm going to bend it on the back of the board with my finger, flip this board over, and we're going to solder it in place forever. So let's go to capacitors. Capacitors also have polarity, and by gosh, we better make sure we get those right. So I'm going to pull out my bag here of capacitors. Oh, there they are. They're the big ones, C3 and C9. I'll put those over there, and I'm going to take one out right now. Take them both out, because we're going to use them both, looks like. Now, fantastic. All right, so you can see I have a stripe going down this one, and no stripe. That stripe is on the shorter lead. And I'm going to go ahead and install both of these in the right spot over here. There we go. So I see C9. Let's see. That's LED. C9 and C3. Gosh, I'm having a hard time. Oh, C3 is right there. Excellent. So as long as I get the polarity right, 33. Now let's talk about Q4. Step 4, Q1. I feel like I'm playing bingo with my grandma here. So very good. Now Q1 is an ESD sensitive part, so it's going to be in a pink bag, and I'm going to go in here now and grab the right. Start the bend. All right, and carefully form it with the board's help until I get it with my fingers on the back a little bit. I don't want to break those legs, but there we got it. I think I got it. It's pretty flush. Hopefully you can see all that. Sometimes I put a little hot glue there to hold it down, and it'll be fine. So we just completed that portion of our circuit, what's called the DC voltage regulation. And we don't have any way of testing it at the moment, but we're going to shortly. So with that, I'm going to end this segment of our Geiger build, let you all take a break, and we'll be right back with the next